get after for 6-8 seconds. Guys, this is what we had to get. This ain't the one we want. You got that ball!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first edition of the Laurel Leader-Call Sports Show. Here, I'm Jack Fairchilds. I'm joined alongside Kevan Lindsey and Josh Guru Nichols as we're about to sit down and talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen with this football season and also preview the upcoming Jamboree that's going to be taking place later today.
Yes, finally here, right, Guru? We've been working tirelessly, it seems like, on the magazine, getting it going, and Friday night, or Friday afternoon, actually, right? Jamboree start.
Nice and warm.
2 o'clock.
Saucy.
Yeah. 2 o'clock start time, right?
You looking forward to that heat there, Guru?
If he gives me football back, absolutely. South Jones, Lawrence County, going to kick us off at 2 o'clock on the campus of Jones College, Bobcat Stadium, Sim Cooley Field. Northeast Jones, Summerall following at 4. Laurel and Petal at 6, and then we're going to wrap it up with a nightcap of West Jones and Seminary. I mean, can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, let's kind of explain how scrimmages work for anybody who doesn't know. They're basically going to play a half of football, no 4 quarters, half football. I think, are they going to kick and punt?
Yeah, kicking and punting will be normal, but from my understanding, especially if they elect to do kickoffs, no returns. I mean, like you said, it is still practice. I mean, I'm not going to go all Allen Iverson and start talking about practice. I mean, we call this a jamboree. This is week 0 of the high school football season. Actually, it's not even week nothing because it's a practice. But yeah, kicking. They'll do punting. They'll run their coverage guys down, but they're not going to make any contact with the receiving teams on the punt. So, but other than that, it'll be full action, like you said, for a full half. We'll have a clock. I'm going to guess they're going to have a couple of timeouts per side, and then after the high school teams finish up their one half of play, each team will get 10 or 12 offensive snaps for their JV units. I mean, because those younger kids have been out there too in the summer heat working out, and they just want to get a little game time action in for them as well.
The thing that gets me, you look at some of these matchups, and these would be fun matchups if it was a regular game, so it is kind of a tease of football to come, but it's also, they didn't just go out and say, well, let's go get nobodies to play against the local schools in this jamboree. They went out and found some really talented squads to really kind of help test themselves before the season gets started.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. It's just not a test for our 4 Jones County schools, but it's also a test for their opponents as well. And every coach and every player on all 8 teams will tell you the same thing. They're looking forward to this afternoon and tonight's action more so than anything because they get to hit somebody that's not wearing the same colors as they are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you've got South Jones, Lawrence County, that's starting off at 2. It's going to be hot.
Very hot.
At 2 o'clock. I just want to say, too, I want to commend Jones College, too, for kind of starting this. And from what I understand, they're wanting to make this a yearly thing, bringing in all 4 Jones County schools. Maybe we can get some participation from the neighboring counties, Wayne County, Jasper County, Smith County in the future, and make it super, super local. I hope is what they have in the future at least. But I do want to commend Jones College for hosting that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Athletic Director Chris Robinson and President Jesse Smith. Kudos, dudes.
Yeah. It reminds me, I grew up in Vicksburg, and we had the Red Carpet Bowl, which, you had Warren Central, Vicksburg High, St. Al all play on that day. Now, when I was in high school, it was a regular season game. It kicked off the season. I don't know if they've since changed it to a jamboree, and hopefully they did, because it was kind of a logistical nightmare, especially for those of us covering the games, to try to cover that last game. It might end at midnight, but the way they're doing this and having it only be 2 quarters, having it as a jamboree, it seems very, very doable that kickoff times are going to start at the times that they say they're going to start.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, with your 2-hour window for each of these games, you're absolutely right, Jack. I mean, they're going to have the time to play their whole half of football, let their JV units get out there, and while the JV units are going, because the way that when I've been to jamborees in the past, and Kevin, I know you can attest to this, but they'll likely just use one half of the field, and while that's going on, you're you said South and Lawrence County opening up, then so when their JV's on one side of the field, the other side of the field, Northeast Jones and Summerall can start warming up for their 4 o'clock matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should just stay rolling throughout the day and into the night. We hope, obviously. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about South Jones, Lawrence County. We're kind of just going to preview our teams, our Jones County teams. So let's talk a little bit about South Jones. Obviously, South Jones, they hosted last year their first playoff game since 2020. It had been a long time prior to 2020 that they had hosted a playoff game. I believe they got bounced the first round, right, against Wayne County. But still, something
bounce
to
is
build
an
on.
understatement.
Yeah, something to build on, though. Obviously, South is, over the past couple of decades, they've not seen a lot of success in the postseason and going to the postseason. So, head coach Casey Harrington there having some talent, and I think he's going to build off of that postseason appearance last year. And he's got a great quarterback, Colin Flowers, featured in our magazine. He's one of the Dirty Dozen. He's got some talent on that side of the ball. What do y'all see?
I think you're right. I think that he's going to ready to take that next step. He's also got great receivers. He's got a great running back in Jackson that's going to be somebody that they're expecting to help carry the load. I mean, I think Colin Flowers said himself that it's a little bit easier to play quarterback when you got somebody like that behind you. And I think that that's going to be another key to South Jones maybe taking that next step, getting out of the first round, going further than they did in the past. And some of the things that they've been building at that school, that's a school that for the last several years has been known as the art school. Well, they've started to build some of their sports programs up. I think that football has seen some of the success elsewhere, and now they want it too. They're hungry for it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Coach Harrington has done an outstanding job there with the Braves on the reservation. And, when you get popped in the mouth the way they did, I was there for the Wayne County South Jones first round playoff game last year. That leaves a bad taste in your mouth for everybody coming back. And I think that's something that they'll utilize as they start on what's being termed the revenge tour on the reservation. And I think it's going to be interesting to check them out later this afternoon when they go up against Lawrence County.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they can bring to the table there, and just to see. I was telling y'all off camera earlier, I'm not going to guarantee it by any means, but in 5A, obviously you have Laurel and other teams there picking. I'm sorry, but you have Laurel for sure. It's 5A. You have some giants to get through, but if you get it right, things start going your way, and like we talked about in the preview. If your offense can control the ball and keep that time of possession, you might can make a run in 5A ball. Now, you have your Giants up north, one being West Point, who just seems to just eat everybody in the South once you get to the state championship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, that's what they do. But I do think that you could see South Jones maybe make a run in the South.
So that will take us into the second game of the day, 4 o'clock kickoff, Northeast Jones and Summerall. Northeast Jones stepping up in a Class 5A. for the first time in the history of the school. It's a big leap. Talking with Carson Lyons, who was previewed in featured in our magazine as well. He said they look at that as a new stepping stone for Northeast Jones and the football program and all the athletics for that matter. But they're going to get to, for the vast majority of the last 10, 15, even 20 years, they're playing the same opponent year in, year out, over and over. Yes, that gives you a lot of familiarity with your opponents, but that also gives your opponents familiarity with you. Well, now they're in a whole new classification, a new region. Sure, they're going to be matched up with Wayne County, which is a team they've played here and there over the years, but they're going to see a lot of new teams, and a lot of new teams are having to see Northeast Jones. So I think it's going to be interesting. Coach Ryan Milner does a fantastic job out there, and from what we've been told, at least in the early going parts of the season, the Tigers are going to have to rely heavily on the backbone, and that's their defense, especially their front seven.
Yeah, they're starting over with a new quarterback this year. They've got a lot of folks that graduated last year. I mean, I think that we've said that it would have probably been better if this move had been made to 5A last year as opposed to this year, but it is the hand that they're dealt, and I think that they've got a great coaching staff there, so I think that they will be ready for this task. But it's not going to be an easy one because they're going to have to travel and play a lot of those coast teams because for whatever reason, when they draw up the region, they didn't put them in the same region as South Jones and Laurel. They've got them touring the coast.
Yeah, that would have made too much sense.
Yeah, it would have made perfect sense. But why do that? Why make sense?
Yeah, I still call it district. I got our former editor used to make fun of me and used to tattle on me whenever I called it district. But we've changed from district to region. But I can't get over how the districts changed. I think that was my biggest pet peeve of why are we not looking at Wayne County, Northeast Jones, Laurel, and South Jones in a district?
Yeah.
And the excuse that I hear all the time is Natchez, because Natchez is way out. And I just can't fathom why we have 4 teams all in 5A so close together, and you have teams going to the coast. And Northeast Jones, unfortunately, draws that going to the coast. One player that I'm excited about to see for Northeast Jones, though, and I want to make sure that I got his name right because whenever I was doing the photo shoot, he was huge, man. Just looking at him, Percy Taylor. He is huge for a defensive end. Stands 6'2", 260. I think that's giving him a little bit of short change. I feel like he's a little bit taller than 6'2". But he is just a huge kid, and I'm
and that's why they're going to be focused with the especially the defensive front with him and Lyons. I mean, Lyons isn't a small kid himself.
No, he's not.
And I mean, you got those 2 dudes on the defensive front 4. I mean, at least it gives you a little bit of confidence, hopefully, when you're attacking another team's running game.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to the third one, I'll take it. It is going to be Laurel and Petal. That's going to be a fun one. Honestly, wish that they had more than half to play.
Yeah, amen.
That's just going to be a fun one. You've got Ryan Ernest versus Marcus Bowles. Marcus Bowles is widely known around the Pine Belt from his time, obviously at Petal, but beforehand at Wayne County. Obviously, Wayne County versus West Jones. He was a huge part of that rivalry, and he had a little stint in Meridian, but comes back to Petal, and obviously they know him and he knows them, and the whole thing. But this is one that I wish was more than a half. Laurel's coming off of a season that I would say disappointing is probably the understatement of the year. They finished last year 2-9 after just making the state title game a year prior.
Right, and I totally agree with you. Not to take away from any of the other matchups tonight or today, I mean, if you had to pick one, I would have to circle this one as the marquee matchup, just because of like what you spoke of with the history of Coach Bulls, and then, I mean, Laurel football is Laurel football.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have more state titles than the other three schools combined. I would have to count. It might be even, but I mean, you know, they besides West Jones, they're the only one that has multiple state championships under our current configuration.
Yeah.
We're not going to go all the way back to the Big 8 days, and that's no disrespect
Right.
to those days, but it's just a different time. Kind of like how now in college football, where we actually have a real playoff system, and not everybody, but technically, when you start the year, everybody has a chance to win a championship. You know, back in the old days, it was just done differently, and kind of getting off point there. But yeah, like you said, I mean, tradition rich, the bricks. I mean, you know, the first stadium in the state, and I could be wrong, but I want to say in the Deep South that had lights installed. And, you know, they have a young man at wide receiver that, and when you go to watch Laurel, go watch number 7. He's featured in our magazine as well, and he's committed to Memphis. When we did our photo shoot at Laurel High with all 4 of our schools, I got to talk to him off record, just me and him shooting the breeze. He's a very well-spoken kid. He sings in the choir at his church, and he's the real deal. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year, and I think he's actually going to catapult up the recruiting boards as the season progresses, and I think he's going to be an integral part in taking Laurel back to the playoffs. I'm gonna predict it right now. Laurel will make the playoffs this year after suffering a pretty down year last year.
Yeah, he's talking about Zachariah Jenkins there, who's committed to Memphis, and like you said, I had the pleasure of interviewing him for our feature for Laurel this year, and so well spoken. Just a great kid, man. Just I don't want to jinx anybody in any way.
Well, no, and all 3 of the kids that were there that day from Laurel, and all 12 kids in general. I'm gonna tell you, coaches, parents, anybody associated with the 12 kids that are among the Leader-Call Dirty Dozen, you've done an outstanding job.
Absolutely.
Because they were all well-mannered, well-spoken, and they were picked to represent their schools for a reason. And our 4 coaches did an outstanding job by sending us the 12 young men that they did.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't want to veer off too far and chase a rabbit, but that's one thing whenever the magazine comes out, which is supposed to come out next week, we ask the coaches, hey, we want your best athletically, but we want your best representatives too. And each coaches, every coach, whenever we had them all together, they each picked 3 from each team. It was so easy. You know, there wasn't any, each one said they wanted 3 kids apiece, and they said not only the best athletes they have, but the best kids they have.
Right.
And I think that's huge. I think you'll see a little bit more about each one of them. I know we did the questionnaire with each one of them, so you'll get to see some cool stuff about them and all of that. But yeah, going back to Laurel, all 3 kids were great. But personally, interviewing for the feature with Jenkins, he was just a great kid, and I 100% agree with you.
My only take on Laurel, of course, you see that they went 2-9 last year, as you already talked about. Laurel doesn't have seasons like that. I mean, it's very. So you have to understand that this is a program that just constantly reloads. They've got a great coaching staff. This team will bounce back this year. I agree with Guru in the fact they will make the playoffs, and they might make a run once they get into the playoffs. I don't put that past them. Like I said, they've got the program that we are accustomed to, right along with the next one we're going to be talking about, because West Jones takes on Seminary in the final game of the evening there. That's another matchup that, again, if this were a regular season matchup, we'd probably be looking forward to and enjoy. So again, you look at this and you see them coming back in. They want to get back to that state championship. Every West Jones player that we've talked to says that they got it that one year. Now they want to get back, especially those seniors. They want to go out on the same high that they saw another senior class go out on. So they want that so bad. And it's hard to doubt Coach Corey Reynolds and his squad and them being able to build something to get back to that state championship.
And, talking about West Jones, they have one of the top players in the state in quarterback Tootie Lindsey. He'll be all over the recruiting scene next year, as he still has another year being a junior. You get the chance to see the Mustangs play if you don't make it to the Jamboree, but if you make it to a game this year, that's another number 7 to watch out for. He's like his older brother Marlon Lindsey, who guided West Jones to its first state championship or played a part as a receiver in 2020, who's now playing at, I believe, Central Missouri State after playing for 2 years here, or where the games will take place today at Jones College. Tootie can beat you with his arm, but he's so electric with his feet. And one person, probably the biggest person that we saw for our photo shoot, is offensive tackle Bryson Cooley, an LSU commit, behemoth of a young man, just right at 6'7", about 315 pounds. Not a lot of fat on him. He's pretty trimmed to be as big as he is.
Yeah.
And for me, being an avid LSU fan, I know what will happen once they get him in the program and he gets into their conditioning program and their nutritional program. He's just going to become more and more ripped. But, I had the pleasure of interviewing him, and he's a very soft-spoken young man, also very humble. But like you said, Jack, he's one of those Mustangs that, he wants to win another state championship. This senior class, all of them were sophomores when the Mustangs won it in 23 and Corey's first year there. And so, they want it again. They want another ring. And once you get that taste of a champion,
yeah,
I mean, you want it again and again and again.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to chase a rabbit, but I am interested to see Cooley versus Taylor when West Jones and Northeast Jones play. That would be fun. That's going to be something to watch and see if those two line up, because Cooley's a little bit taller than Taylor, but man, that's going to be a semi-truck and a freight train going toe-to-toe.
And even though they're just, high school seniors, I mean, that's man versus man right there.
Yeah, like that. It's going to be fun to watch. Don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I mean, I think too, I'm interested to see West Jones, and I'm also interested to see Seminary too and what they look like, because their head coach is Mitch Evans. And I was telling Jack yesterday or day before yesterday, I believe it was, Mitch Evans was the guy who guided Taylorsville during the dynasty when they had Ty Keys and just tons and tons of talent at Taylorsville. And then he goes to Seminary and has been rebuilding Seminary. So that's going to be interesting to see how they go, because Mitch Evans likes to go, 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 go. He likes to go fast. So I'm interested in seeing what West Jones is going to look like. Johnny Hilton, safety, another great kid. I know we keep repeating ourselves, but a great kid. So I'm interested in seeing how that's going to work, how Hilton plays that first half, and see how he looks on the defensive side of the ball.
I don't think you can praise great kids enough. I mean, quite frankly, especially in the world we live in today, it's almost refreshing when you see kids that have been brought up the right way, been coached the right way. So I think it's fair to say great kids and to bring that up constantly. Now, I do want to ask you guys something, before we wrap this show up, because again, we're a week away from the real season. Tonight is just going to be scrimmage practice games for 2 quarters. So we'll start with you, Kevin. What bold prediction do you have for this year's high school season for our local schools? What bold prediction are you willing to make?
Guru kind of took it from me. So I think that you're going to have Jenkins, who's just going to keep rising up for Laurel. I think he's like you said, he's going to have that breakout year. He's probably going to rise up the recruiting rankings. A kid that I'm interested, that I know we talked about Lyons and Taylor, is AJ Pugh. Dude, he was straight comedy at the the photo shoot. But I'm interested in what he's going to look like at running back. I mean, he's got the build of a speed type back. In Northeast Jones, they're going to implement something. Basically, the wing T is what they're going to do. So I know he's going to get the ball a lot. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So I'm interested in what that's going to look like, moving to 5A and, having to go up against the Wayne County and these teams. But I think he could be a surprise player in the county that you look up and you're like, man, he's crossed the 1,000-yard mark. He's bumping up, 1,200 yards, that type of thing.
All right, Guru, what's your bold prediction for the high school season?
You go first.
No. I'm asking the question.
My bold prediction for the high school football season. I look at Laurel. I know they're going to make it back to the playoffs. I know they will. I think Northeast Jones is going to have an up and down season, especially early on. Hopefully they can get the kinks worked out on offense before they get to district, aka region play. But the jungle will be rocking on Friday nights. It's going to be tough out there. West Jones, like we said, interested to see how far they may go this year. But I'm going to stick on the reservation, and I'm going to say that South Jones is going to make a run to the South State Championship game.
Wow.
I really like what they have offensively, especially with Flowers at quarterback, and I think they have enough on defense, and we talked about this off air earlier, and I can remember it back in 2020. My son was a senior on the West Jones football team when they won that first state championship, and that team played every game on the road. That was the COVID year. We were handed a couple of losses, COVID losses, if you will, where the game wasn't played. There were forfeits. We ended up, I wasn't a part of the team. I felt like I was, but they ended up as the 4 seed in the district and had played every game on the road. And, every game wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win them all. Not saying South won't go all the way to state and win it. I'm going to say that they are going to find some mojo as the season progresses. And when they get to the postseason, they're going to at least have a chance to make it to Starkville to play for state. South Jones Braves go into the South State Championship game this year. Book it.
I'm going to have to pick a different one. Now, I wasn't going as far. I was going to say South Jones makes it out of the first round because I do think that that's definitely, of course, it'd be amazing if they do what you're hoping for and believing in them. And it's very possible based on the talent they have. I guess what I'm going to go with then, since I got to pivot, is I'm going to say that West Jones makes it back to the state championship game this year. They've got a lot of talent on that team. They're rock solid, well coached. You saw last year, even, they were still rock solid last year, the year after winning it, losing players to graduation. I think this year, that team's hungry. I think that's their focus, especially when you talk to those seniors. I think they're making it back to the state championship game this year.
Like it.
Well, we all kind of, and look, none of us talked about that off air. You kind of stole a little bit of South Jones. I was like, what if? I think I convinced him. About South Jones making a run.
No, I was just messing with you. I was just going to pick it.
As far as team play goes, I agree with both of y'all. I think that South can make a run. I could see West Jones going back to Starkville. I think Northeast Jones, they're going to experience some bumps along the way. I think you could see a Laurel versus South Jones playoff game. I think that's possible, right?
It was a toss up for me, but I just the way that the season ended for South, what they brought back, they're still, Laurel was down and they do have some unknowns, but Coach Ernst is a great coach, and he's going to get them back in the playoffs. I almost was going to go taking them on a deep run, but I wouldn't be surprised if the two ended up crossing paths in the playoffs. I mean, they play in the same district, so they're going to play at least once, and we possibly could see a second matchup between them.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to touch on about Laurel that I kind of made a mental note of, and I talked a little bit about it in my preview that I wrote for him, but Coach Ernest was extremely excited about something. He said, and I want to make sure that I get this right, because I've got my notes here, is basically he said the team isn't the biggest that he's had. Obviously, he's had Charles Cross and guys like that on the offensive line.
Malik Ellis.
Yeah, definitely big guys, But he thinks it's the fastest team
That's scary.
that he's had at Laurel. And if you go back about a decade ago when he was at Collins, I was starting as a freelancer, and I had the opportunity to basically latch on and cover Collins for that run that they made. And they beat Charleston in both years. Kind of walked them off the last year. Man, they had speedsters. They had the McLaurin brothers there. They had guys that were fast. And I immediately, whenever he said that, I said, "Does it remind you of your Collins days?" And he kind of laughed at me. He's like, "A little bit." And I think that he was underselling that. So that made me excited for Laurel. Is for him to say this is the fastest team that he's had at Laurel, that's saying something, because Laurel has had some pretty fast teams.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Well, look, guys, it's been fun, and we looked forward to bringing this show to you guys at least once a week. We'll be coming back on. Maybe we can get Guru to, maybe try on some helmets, headgears. There's a rhino mask back there if you want to put it on just to tease folks what a headgear pick from Guru would look like.
do we have any rhinos?
We don't have any rhinos.
No
rhinos. No rhinos. Yeah.
But anyway, folks, thank y'all so much for tuning in to this first episode of the Laurel Leader-Call Sports Show. And we look forward to doing more as we grow, as we figure out this format. Maybe we'll even show up on campus at some point. No promises, but, those are the type of ideas that we have, and we hope we can put together and help cover these great young athletes.